are going to address some challenging behavior that your child might demonstrate. We've broken this into two categories, stereotypy and general maladaptive behavior. Stereotypy is also known as stimming or repetitive restrictive behavior and is usually a behavior that your child engages in repeatedly and often, and it isn't really related to the activity that you're engaged in at the time. General maladaptive behavior usually occurs in response to a specific trigger when your child doesn't have the skills to more easily communicate his wants and needs. Stereotypy is one of the core features of autism, and children with that diagnosis tend to engage in some type of stereotypy, which is also known as stimming or self-stimulatory behavior. Typically, it's a repetitive movement using the child's body or their voice or toys or items around them, and it very often occurs because some aspect of that movement or repetition is pleasurable to the child. In ABA, we tend to avoid the term stimming or self-stimulatory behavior when we refer to stereotypy, simply because it doesn't always serve that function. Sometimes the child gets attention from others when they engage in that behavior, or they escape an unpleasant situation, and we want to make sure that we've picked the right function so that the replacement skills we choose meet your child's needs. Every child demonstrates stereotypy in a way that is unique to them, but children with less language and play skills tend to engage in these types of behaviors. Hand or toy flapping, making repetitive noises or scripting short phrases from a TV show or a song, lining up toys, only eating from certain categories of foods, for example, only eating white foods, tapping toys or items around the house on their body or on tabletops or furniture, and preventing them from engaging in these behaviors or interrupting these behaviors when they're already occurring often leads to general maladaptive behavior such as crying, vocalizing, flopping on the floor, or hand leading the adult back to the item that they need. Children with more play and language skills tend to insist on the sameness within daily routines. For example, taking the same route to a familiar place, wanting to use the same items each time in a meal, asking questions during a routine that they already know the answer to, and, as with other children, preventing them from doing this or interrupting these routines tends to result in general maladaptive behavior such as complaining, whining, crying, pushing away, or going and grabbing the thing that they wanted that the parent said no to. There are several reasons why children engage in stereotypy. The main one is that they typically have a lack of other play and leisure skills to fill their day with, and they may not experience enough variety throughout their day. Another important one is that some aspect of the behavior itself is pleasurable to the child. And lastly, for children with less language, a visual routine serves as a signal to help them predict what's happening next, and it helps their day feel more predictable. Reduced rates of stereotypy are correlated with improved adaptive behavior and overall better outcomes with learning and social skills. If left unchecked, many behaviors may end up taking over your child's day, causing him to miss out on social and learning opportunities, experiencing more distress throughout the day, and over time, the gap between your child and his peers will grow as he spends more time engaged in stereotypy and less time learning and playing. Additionally, research shows that behavior strengthens over time, and particularly with physical stereotypies such as tapping or flapping, that behavior can strengthen over time, resulting in it turning into self-injurious behavior as the child ages. And for some other more mild behaviors like insistence on sameness, when those strengthen over time, those can also end up turning into self-injurious behavior or aggression as the child becomes more firmly entrenched in his routines. For these reasons, it's really important that we address and redirect this now by teaching your child new play and leisure skills and teaching him better ways to access the things that he needs throughout the day. Avoid pairing fun activities with the stereotypy. So for example, if your child enjoys playing chase and you're chasing him and he begins to hand flap, Pause for a second, wait for him to stop, and then continue the fun game. Don't limit your child's play repertoire to the 1 or 2 things that he seems to spend a lot of time with. Instead, put out access to a wide variety of games and toys, and make sure you engage in variety throughout your routines. Don't give positive or negative attention that is special when your child is engaged in the stereotypy. Instead, wait for him to pause before you provide the attention, or give him something else to do first and then give him attention. Don't punish the behavior using traditional parenting methods like timeout or spanking. These do not address your child's needs, and although they might seem effective in the short term, they will not be a good long-term solution. If your child engages in stereotypy that has a clear sensory component, let's teach them a variety of ways to get the same input. We can look at different materials to use where they can engage in the same physical movement, but there is a variety of items that they're doing it with. We can teach them different ways to play with the same toy. We can look for ways to make the play a little bit more complex or social, like taking turns with it. And we can shape their play behavior. So for example, a child who likes to tap, we can find toys that need tapping, like an instrument. A child that likes to line up items or toys, there are many toys that require organization, sorting, and lining up within the toy itself. Or if a child likes to spin, we can find things like a sit and spin or a top that they can spin. It's really important that we don't just have the new toy or the new toy behavior replace the old one. So we want to have a variety of toys and toy options available for your child at all times and swap them out so that they get used to that variety very regularly. If your child engages in stereotypy that involves making noises or repeating short phrases, you could model different noises or phrases that they could use in the same type of situations. You could label what it appears that they're communicating with that sound. And you can also explore some toys and items that make noises or sounds that they might enjoy listening to as well. For children who really want a routine to be the same or insist on sameness throughout the day, instead we want to teach them to expect the unexpected within a familiar framework. And we want them to anticipate change rather than being thrown off by it. Children with less language rely on the steps of a routine to signal what's happening next, and by teaching them to expect the unexpected within a familiar framework, we can teach them to look at the larger details of a routine rather than focusing on some of the minute details. The best way to teach this is to add in new steps to your routine or slightly change a current step each time you engage in that routine. And the easiest way to do this is to actually make a list of some of your daily activities and pick one small thing that you're going to change about them each time you do them.